Okay, let's take a look at the 1981 World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Today's Strat-O-Matic breakdown. Let's get right into their offense. And sorry, as I seem to have misplaced my notes. Oh, here we go. Here's the offense. Let's get started with the top of the order. We got Lopes and Landro at in the 1-2 spot, and you see their on base chances right there. You can see Landro's numbers against right-handed pitching is a little bit low. Davey Lopes's on base chances are pretty good. You do have other options to put in the outfield, which I will get into later on. But I did want to start with Lopes and Landro because, according to the Strat-O-Matic book, that is how the 81 Dodgers did their lineup with Lopes 1 and Landro number 2. Now, let me look at the number 3 hitter, Dusty Baker, and I'm going to show you all of his numbers here. First, his hits with multiple base advance. You could see very, very good against left-handed pitching and pretty good against right-handed pitching. Now let's take a look at his on-base chances. You can see Dusty Baker just absolutely killed it in 1981. This is a really, really solid Strat-O-Matic card and a really all around a very good number 3 hitter in your lineup. Next, we take a look at Steve Garvey and Ron Say. You could see their hits with multiple base advancement. You see Garvey's numbers against lefties very good. Ron Say's numbers against righties are very good. I'm not crazy about Ron Say's numbers against left-handed pitching, but let's move on to Pedro Guerrero. First, I'm going to show you his hits with multiple base advancement. You can see those numbers check out okay. And then let's take a deeper dive into Pedro Guerrero and look at his on base chances. And you can see very good numbers right over there. Next, I want to get into Rick Monday. Now, Rick Monday, obviously left-handed hitter. He's a guy, however, that you would have no problem playing against both right-handed and left-handed pitching. And let's take a look at his runner advance hits. You can see very solid numbers there, 7 out of 33 against both lefties and righties. But let's take a deeper look into Rick Monday and his on-base chances. And you can see excellent numbers out of Rick Monday. So Monday is a guy who, like I said before, if you're looking to add a little bit more pop to your lineup, you could stick him in the outfield and either leave Ken Landro in center, or maybe if you want to put Landro on the bench and put Pedro Guerrero in center, you could do that as well. So this is why I had a little bit of a hard time coming up with defensive ratings for the 1981 Dodgers, but I'll get into that later. Right now, let me break down the numbers that I came up with for the 1981 Dodgers. As far as offense goes, on base percentage, I gave them a 3.5 out of 5. For the middle of the order, I gave them a 4 out of 5. And for depth, righty lefty mix, versatility in the lineup, I gave them a perfect score of a 5 out of 5. And a lot of that was driven by the fact that you got a guy like Rick Monday who you could either start against righties or lefties, or bring him off the bench and have him pinch hit against a righty or lefty reliever. It's not going to impact him in any way. You've got a solid platoon at catcher if you choose to play that way, with Mike Scioscia versus righties and Steve Yeager versus lefties. So I do really like this offense on the 1981 Dodgers, and their overall score on offense came out to a 4.2, which is an excellent score. Now, let me move over to the pitching side. Obviously, the ace that year was Fernando Valenzuela, his rookie season, won Rookie of the Year and Cy Young Award. And you see his numbers against left-handed hitters and right-handed hitters. Those are his on-base chances when you roll his card. So this was a very easy call. Fernando Valenzuela, very solid 5 out of 5 score when it comes to rating the aces card. Now, let's look at the Dodgers starting rotation depth. Let's take a look at Jerry Royce, Bert Hooton, and Bob Welch. And there you see their numbers on base chances versus lefties and versus righties. You can see both Jerry Royce and Bert Hooton, very stingy pitchers. I would even say that this is one of the better 2-3 combos in a starting rotation that I've really ever come across. This is a very, very effective starting rotation. And then when you look at Bob Welch, the number 4 starter, those numbers check out pretty good as well. So once again, this was a very easy call for me as far as the 1981 Dodgers starting rotation. They get a perfect score of a 5 out of 5 as both the ace and the depth of the rotation checked out at a perfect 5 out of 5. Now, let's look at the Dodgers bullpen. Let's take a look at Steve Howe's numbers. You see them right there. Steve Howe, I give him a 5 out of 5. However, it's the bullpen depth which is a little worrisome to me to the 1981 Dodgers. I'm going to show you the numbers for Alejandro Pena, Terry Foster, who was a lefty, and Tom Niedenfuer. And you see their numbers right there. And you can kind of see how in 1981, Alejandro Pena's card kind of turns him into a righty specialist who gets right-handed batters out. You can see that number against left-handed hitting is pretty high, and that's not something that you want coming into a close game. And then you run into a bigger problem when you look at the lefty Terry Foster, you can see his numbers. Well, he really doesn't check out as a lefty specialist because his numbers against right-handed hitting is so much better. So little troublesome numbers there. And then you also see Tom Niedenfuer's numbers. His numbers check out pretty good. Um, but overall, it's a bullpen where you can have a little bit of trouble getting the ball from your starter to Steve Howe, the closer. You could do a little mixing and matching with Alejandro Pena. He's more than capable of coming in and getting out some right-handed batters. Tom Niedenfuer's card is just okay, but I had to grade the 1981 Dodgers bullpen depth as a 3 out of 5. So once again, if you give the ace Steve Howe a perfect rank of 5 out of 5, I give the bullpen depth a 3 out of 5, and the overall score for the 1981 Dodgers bullpen is a 4. So you can see so far so good with the 1981 Dodgers. Starting pitching checked out as a 5, relief pitching checked out as a 4, and the offense checked out at a 4.2. So that is the excellent news when it comes to the 1981 Dodgers. Now let's take a look at some issues defensively. As always, I'll start the defense with the middle infield defense. And you could see with the combination of Davey Lopes and Bill Russell, neither one of these ratings are what you really want. You've got a 4 at second base and you've got a 3 at shortstop. Now, at least Davey Lopes has a low E rating, so if you happen to roll a split at second base, with Davey Lopes only being an E6, your chance of turning a double play are pretty much almost guaranteed. However, if you don't roll a split and it's just on a D20, the chances of a ball getting through the infield and being a single are very high. At shortstop, you got a 3 with an over 30 E rating. So I kind of had to hit the Dodgers over the head for their middle infield defense here and gave them a 2 out of 5. Now, the outfield defense, I kind of went back and forth on because it kind of depends on the combination of players that you go with. Obviously, you're looking really good in left field with Dusty Baker, and even though Ken Landreau in center field is a 3, he's an E0, which you don't see a lot of in Strat-O-Matic. I only remember seeing an E0 in the outfield less than a handful of times. You don't see that very often. And then you look at right field with Pedro Guerrero and Rick Monday. Now, I remember the 1981 Dodgers playing Pedro Guerrero a lot in center field. So if you go with the combination left to right, Baker, Guerrero, and Monday, there you see your defense right there. So this is where I had a little bit of a hard time grading the Dodgers outfield defense because you can start different guys. And I don't think Ken Landreau was set in stone as the everyday center fielder because, again, I remember Pedro Guerrero playing a lot of center field for the 1981 Dodgers. So I'm going to give the Dodgers outfield an average score of a 2.5 out of 5. And then when I look at the overall E ratings, okay, what's good about the E ratings? Well, you're good at first with Garvey. Second base, I spoke on before with Davey Lopes. He's only an E6. When you play Landreau in center field, E0, and Dusty Baker in left. Now, the bad news when it comes to the E ratings. Ron Say's E rating. This is not what you want at third base. Again, third base is one of those positions where you have a very high split on the fielding chart. So there's a very good chance you're going to have to roll for an error, and that is way too high of an E rating for a third baseman. And the E rating at shortstop is way too high. So once again, I came out at a just an average score for the Dodgers E rating overall as a team. I put them at a 2.5 out of 5. So that puts their overall defensive score at slightly below average at a 2.3 out of 5. So let's take a look at the 1981 Dodgers composite score. Once again, the offense scored at a 4.2, defense came out at a 2.3, starting rotation checked out as a 5, and the bullpen checked out at a 4. So that puts the 1981 Dodgers at an overall average score of a 3.88, slightly below a 4, which is pretty much where I would put the Los Angeles Dodgers. I really like this team offensively, and I really do like the starting rotation. However, if you play with this team, you're going to see that there's definitely issues in the field that have to be concerning. And you may have some issues if you get into a bullpen game with this team and either Steve Howe's not available, or you've already used Steve Howe, or it's too early in the game to go to your closer. There could be some issues in the bullpen there. So that is my assessment of the 1981 Los Angeles Dodgers. Overall, they come out as a good team, a solid score of a 3.88. That is your 1981 World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Well, thank you for watching, everybody. And my next video will be on the 1990 World Champion Cincinnati Reds. Have a good day.